Hello and welcome to my marketing video pitch and my proposal for Aqua-D. Aqua-D is a New Zealand owned and operated company. It supplies wakas every year to Waka Ama and produces dragon boats and skis as well. The company operates currently across New Zealand and Australia. The water safety course, the product which I'm proposing that Aqua-D create and then sell across New Zealand, selling directly to schools and independently as well, is a continuous innovation strategy. A continuous innovation strategy is defined in marketing as normal upgrading of products that does not require a change in consumer behavior. This is the case because water safety courses aren't a brand new innovation and don't require a change in consumer behavior. Instead, in this case, Aqua-D is instead upgrading its existing product offering. This strategy is suitable and sufficient given the market as it currently stands right now. In New Zealand, over last Christmas and New Year, New Zealand tragically had 14 drownings nationwide, which represents the worst figure since 1982. Water safety in New Zealand is currently unacceptable. Many people aren't comfortable in the water, with many more not familiar or aware of how to deal with the ocean elements, such as rips, high waves, rapid tidal changes, and more. To break down who marketers are targeting and formulate subsequent marketing strategies, marketers use market segmentation to categorize how consumers are selected and targeted in order to present products in a way that appeals to consumers and ultimately appeals to their interests. In marketing, there are four main categories of segmentation. There's first demographic segmentation. It's one of the most common forms and it splits audiences based on observable, people-based differences. These differences can include things like age, sex, marital status, family size, and occupation. Next, you have behavioral segmentation. You can also segment your market based on consumers' behavior, especially with regard to how they interact with your product, dividing your audience based on on the behaviors they display, which allows you to create messaging that caters towards those behaviors. Some of those behaviors can look like shopping habits, actions taken on websites, usage rate, and more. Geographic segmentation. Geographic segmentation involves splitting up your market based on their location. It's quite basic, but a highly useful segmentation strategy. A customer's location can help you better understand their needs and enable you to send out location-specific ads. This can involve filtering consumers based on where they live, regionally, nationally, locally, and it could also involve finding out whether they live in urban, suburban, or rural environments characterized by different population densities. You also have psychological segmentation. Psychological segmentation is similar to demographic segmentation, but it deals with characteristics that are more mental and emotional. These attributes can be difficult for marketers to identify, but they can give you valuable insight into your audience's motives, preferences, and needs. Sometimes for marketers, it can be very useful to understand these aspects of the audience to help create content that appeals to them more effectively and therefore market more effectively. These four categories represent the four market segments marketers can organize and help define how they approach marketing a product to a specific set of consumers. In the case of a water safety course, marketed and sold by Aqua-D, the two market segments that I would be targeting would be both geographic and demographic. The first, geographic, would be relevant in this case as this is a New Zealand problem, a nationwide problem, and given the size of the company and the connection with Aotearoa, it would be most suitable for marketing and selling this course too. The second demographic would additionally include demographic. By intervening at a younger age and marketing this to schools overall, Aqua-D can be a huge part in making sure that younger people are more accommodated to the water at a younger age, so that we can prevent future tragic drownings and water-related incidents, making them far less common. This, along with the reality that there's high funding for schools, local councils, and water safety-related organisations in and across all regions in New Zealand. So here we have a product positioning map here. To identify where Aqua-D's water safety course would fit on the production positioning map that I've created, that you can see on the slide, I've decided to, instead, by filtering by price and quality, which I think would be ill-suited in this particular case, I've used on one axis the number of students catered to, and on the other axis the level of technical content in the course. Because I believe that the two of these would work somewhat against each other, having a high technical content course would alienate some students because some students don't even have the basics already to attend and fully engage with the course, and the costs to reach with the course, and the costs to reach higher volumes of students does contradict itself in that high cost would alienate some students not being able to pay for it. The course will need to create some sort of a trade-off between the two of these things. Whether we go for high volume of students we try to market it towards, having to filter down the content of the course, or lower numbers but increase the amount of technical content of the course. Therefore, I believe that for Aqua-D to have the most impact, the company should create a course in such a way that the content is towards the lower end of the technical content to maximize the number of consumers the course can be marketed to and sold to, therefore placing the water safety course Aqua-D sells in its position on the product positioning map displayed. As you can see on this slide, I believe the logo would look something like this, with the logo shown Safety on the Water with Aqua-D in partnership with Water Safety New Zealand. Although not the most creative of logos, I believe that this logo would have to look something like this in order to bring on side Water Safety New Zealand, a huge part in why I think this course could be really successful, being administered across the country. As referred to earlier, Aqua-D would not be applying a geographic segmentation strategy to market this course over the entire country, rather than breaking it down regionally. By partnering with Water Safety New Zealand, they would be able to have this national presence and this national body to bypass the intricacies of trying to market on a regional based level, and would also provide Aqua-D with the legitimacy that it would need to have in order to be recognized as a proper course as well. For this course to succeed in schools and in particular regions, this national support would be vital overall, in my opinion. Now let's examine the pricing strategy that Aqua-D would use to successfully penetrate the water safety courses market in New Zealand. Firstly, as shown on the slide, there is a pricing strategy matrix. As shown on the matrix, it is divided by price and quality. Although not how we place the product on the product placement map, the pricing strategy matrix does help categorize and present the course in more commercial-based terms. I concluded with the black outline, as you can see, around penetration, that a penetration pricing strategy, I do apologize, would work best in this case by having a course that, although isn't high in technical content, but is nonetheless high quality in its delivery of the content that it does contain, would be best suited for Aqua-D in my view, and would enable them to penetrate the New Zealand market most effectively by using this particular pricing strategy. And the map shown on the right, an idea of the 7 locations I highlighted, 3 in the South Island, 4 in the North Island, would give a good spread and would enable Aqua-D to have full nationwide coverage, offering their water safety courses in all these locations, and with access to bodies of water enabled to administer the courses. Now let's examine what the current market competition would be for Aqua-D when it enters the New Zealand market. Its 2 chief competitors would be Drowning Prevention Auckland and AUT Millennium. 2 organizations that have paid water safety courses. Based on the prices offered by Drowning Prevention Auckland charging $500 a group and AUT Millennium charging $400 per group, Aqua-D should market their course for approximately $450 a group. A low price, competitive with these 2 organizations, that would enable them to be very competitive in the market and enable them to initiate a nationwide market penetration strategy. To show how we will price this product and successfully penetrate the water safety courses market in New Zealand, on the slide there is a break-even chart with 4 key numerical values that need to be addressed. The first is that the total fixed costs are $80,000, indicated by the straight flat line. The total variable costs amount to $25,000 if we count the red line there, and the initial rollout will be 400 units sold. The specific price point, of course, being $450 per group. After performing the calculations, as you can see on the slide, it would take 233.33 or 234 units to reach the break-even point, and at 400 units we would be operating at a profit, as we can see here. Thank you very much for listening.